Do you remember the sound of the mail slot clinking as the postman slid envelopes through it? Or the feeling of peeling open an airmail letter from someone you hadn't seen in months? Maybe the soft scratch of your favorite ballpoint pen on lined paper, or the scent of perfume dabbed on a page still lingers in your memory. Back in the 1960s, before emails, texts, and video calls, we had a more personal way of staying connected: letter writing, a quiet, thoughtful act filled with meaning. Each envelope was a small time capsule carrying not just words, but emotions, stories, and sometimes a pressed flower or two. So pour yourself a cup of tea, settle into your favorite chair, and join me as we take a trip back in time to when staying in touch meant putting pen to paper. Welcome to another gentle stroll down memory lane. Today, we're diving into the lost art of writing letters, how we kept in touch in the 1960s, when the post office was a lifeline and the typewriter was king. We'll remember the joy of checking the mailbox, the care we took in choosing the right stationery, and the excitement of receiving a letter from someone dear. We'll talk about love letters, letters from soldiers, overseas, pen pals, and those Sunday afternoon family updates that stretched across miles. I still remember the long summer afternoons I spent at the kitchen table, pen in hand, carefully forming each sentence, imagining the look on my cousin's face in Des Moines when she read it. Maybe you did the same. So whether you were a loyal letter writer, a dreamy pen pal, or someone who eagerly waited by the mailbox, this one's for you. And as we go along, I'd love to hear from you. What's the most memorable letter you ever received? Back in the 60s, writing a letter wasn't just something you did. It was a ritual, a comforting routine that slowed life down just enough for you to connect with someone far away, even if only for a moment. You might start by choosing your paper. If you were writing something romantic, maybe you pulled out a piece of floral printed stationery with a delicate watermark. Sometimes the fancy letter sets from Woolworths were kept in a dresser drawer just for special occasions. Do you remember those boxed sets with pale pink envelopes and gold-edged paper? You could get them for under $1. And let's not forget the pens. Whether it was a Parker Jotter ballpoint or a sleek Sheffer fountain pen you received for graduation, the feel of pen on paper was part of the experience. That gentle scratching sound as you wrote. It was almost like music. For many of us, Sunday afternoon was letter writing time. After church and lunch, the house would get quiet. You'd sit down with a cup of coffee or tea and start writing. Maybe to a sister in another state, a child away at college, or a friend who'd moved out west. You thought about what to say. You didn't just dash off a few words you composed. You updated them on the kids, the weather, the new washing machine. You just got on layaway at Sears. You might even clip a newspaper article and tuck it inside. And oh, the smell of those letters. Sometimes the scent of the writer would linger, maybe from the Avon soft musk perfume dabbed lightly on the page, or the faint smell of Old Spice if it came from Dad. When you were finished, you carefully folded the letter into thirds, slid it into the envelope, and licked the flap shut. Then came the stamps. In 1963, it cost just 5 cents to mail a first-class letter. Remember the bright red Thomas Jefferson stamp? And off it went, dropped into the blue metal mailbox at the corner, or handed directly to the friendly neighborhood mailman who knew your name and waved at your kids. Do you remember waiting for a reply? That hopeful peek into the mailbox each morning, the little thrill when you spotted your name written in familiar handwriting. You didn't get instant replies, and that was okay. Part of the magic was in the waiting. Back then, the world moved slower. There was time to think, to reflect, to miss people, and letter writing gave us a way to bridge those distances with grace and intention. Let me ask you, did you have a special spot in your house where you always sat to write letters? Maybe by the window with the best light, or at a writing desk inherited from your mother. One of the most powerful forms of letter writing in the 1960s came from the hearts of young men stationed overseas and the families waiting for them back home. During the Vietnam War, which escalated through the decade, letters became a lifeline. There were no FaceTime calls or instant messages. For a soldier sweating under the sweltering heat of Saigon or crouching in the jungle outside Da Nang, a letter from home could lift the spirits like nothing else. V-mail, short for Victory Mail, had been used during World War II, but by the 60s, regular airmail was the standard. A lightweight blue envelope folded into thirds with writing on every inch was common for long-distance correspondence. Soldiers would write when they could, often using military-issue pens and whatever scrap of time they could carve out. Some letters were upbeat, hiding the fear behind jokes and talk of baseball scores. Others, more tender, were addressed to sweethearts' wives or moms, filled with longing and homesickness. Back home, families cherished every envelope. Mothers kept them in shoe boxes. Sweethearts tied them in bundles with ribbon. Some folks read those letters over and over, holding them like they were made of gold. Do you remember someone close to you who served during the 60s? Did you write to them regularly or wait anxiously for their reply? Letters were also a way to stay sane. Both the sender and the recipient leaned on them for emotional support. A girlfriend might write about a new dress she saw at JC. Pennies or a parent might share that the dog had taken to sleeping on the soldier's bed, still waiting. Even children joined in. Crayon drawing, stick figure, I love you. Daddy notes, small gestures that meant the world. Some of those letters are still kept today, folded carefully, ink faded, but never forgotten. They hold history, not just global events, but personal ones. A record of a time when love, fear, and courage were poured onto paper one line at a time. Now let's talk about something a little lighter, but just as meaningful. Pen pals. Do you remember having a pen pal when you were young? Maybe through school, the church, or a magazine like Jack and Jill or Boy's Life. In the 1960s, it was quite common for classrooms to exchange addresses with students from other states or even other countries. You might have written to someone in England, Canada, or even Australia. The international stamps were a treat. Those exotic stamps and the foreign handwriting gave each letter a sense of wonder. The envelope might have smelled a little different. Maybe the paper had a texture you'd never seen before. It was all so exciting. Some of these friendships lasted for years. You'd write about your favorite radio programs, maybe The Lone Ranger or Dragnet, and your favorite lunchbox mine was The Jetsons. You'd describe your school, your family, your little victories, and in return, you'd learn how other kids lived, what they ate, what music they loved, what toys were popular across the ocean. If you were lucky, you'd exchange little keepsakes, a pressed leaf from their garden, a postcard from their city, or even a snapshot. And if the friendship continued into the later 60s, maybe you started swapping cassette tapes or record recommendations. The Beatles in Liverpool, the Supremes in Detroit. Pen pals helped us feel connected beyond our neighborhoods. Long before social media made the world smaller, we were already building bridges, one envelope at a time. Did you have a pen pal growing up? Where were they from? Do you still remember their name? It wasn't just children either. Adults wrote to strangers too. Some through ads in hobby magazines, others through church ministries or community bulletin boards. Letter writing became a kind of hobby, a way to meet people, share ideas, and stretch the imagination. There was even a charm in writing to someone you'd never met face to face. The words mattered more. You got to know each other through stories and sincerity, not snapshots and likes. Back then, friendship grew slowly, and often it lasted. Oh, love letters, perhaps the most cherished kind of all. In the 1960s, love letters were the lifeblood of romance, especially if your sweetheart lived in another town or was serving in the military. And even for those close by, passing secret notes in class or slipping a folded letter into a locker was just part of young love. Do you remember that flutter of nerves as you sat down to write your feelings? The right words didn't always come easy, but when they did, they came straight from the heart. I miss your smile, or every day I think of you, followed by a hand-drawn heart or a lipstick kiss on the seal. These were not throwaway texts. They were keepsakes. If you were lucky enough to receive a love letter, you likely read it again and again, maybe under the covers with a flashlight or tucked behind the flour tin in the kitchen. Some folks even slept with them under their pillow. Young women might have kept a small box, maybe lined with velvet or covered in floral wallpaper scraps, where they saved every note, every Valentine, every Dear Jane letter too. And young men, though they might not have said it aloud, often carried a folded letter in their wallet or tucked into a breast pocket while away from home. Songs of the era reflected that yearning too. Think of Elvis Presley's love letters or Please Mr. Postman by the Marvelettes, songs that captured the waiting, the longing, the excitement that came with opening a letter that said, I love you, and of course proposals happened this way too. A trembling hand, a letter written by lamplight asking, will you wait for me? Or even, will you marry me? Those letters live on in shoe boxes and dresser drawers, sometimes even pressed between the pages of an old Bible. Did you keep any love letters from your younger days? Or maybe write one that changed your life? Not all letters were poetic or profound. Some were just good, honest family updates. And they were just as important. Every week, sometimes like clockwork, someone in the family would sit down to write the Sunday letter. Maybe it was Mom writing to her sister in Oregon about the kids' report cards, or Grandpa updating a cousin about his tomato plants and the weather down in Georgia. These letters were often long, sometimes 2 or 3 pages, and written with care. They covered births and birthdays, potluck dinners, local gossip, and reminders to tell Aunt Mabel I said hello. They may have included a Polaroid or a clipping from the Saturday Evening Post. And they created a rhythm of connection. You knew when to expect them. You looked forward to them. They told you in their own simple way that you were still part of each other's lives, no matter how far apart you lived. Even kids got involved drawing little doodles in the margins or adding a line at the end in their loopy cursive. Today we might send a quick text or email, but there was something so human about seeing someone's handwriting, knowing they took the time to sit and write just for you. So what have we lost? And what have we gained? The art of letter writing gave us something beautiful, a chance to slow down, to reflect, to connect in a meaningful way. Each envelope was a small gift full of thought, time, and heart. Sure, it took longer, and sure, it wasn't as convenient as tapping a screen, but maybe that's what made it special. Today, we've got video calls, emojis, instant everything. But there's still something irreplaceable about a handwritten note. It lives on long after the phone call ends. It's something you can hold in your hands and in your heart. So here's my gentle invitation to you the next time you're thinking of someone, try writing them a letter. A real one. You might be surprised at how much joy it brings both to them and to you. And now, I'd love to hear from you. What's the most memorable letter you ever received or sent? Did you have a pen pal, a sweetheart, or a family ritual around writing letters? Let's share those memories in the comments. After all, stories are meant to be told and remembered. Until next time, thank you for joining me on this walk down memory lane.